Hello, good afternoon. A man has appeared in court charged with the murder of a woman working at an Aldi supermarket in North Yorkshire. Neville Horde, who's 44, was remanded in custody by magistrates in York. Jodie Wilshire was stabbed to death in Skipton on Thursday. Our correspondent Sarah Walton sent this report.
Arriving at York Magistrates Court, 44-year-old Neville Horde appeared in the dock charged with murder. He's accused of attacking 30-year-old Jodie Wilshire at the Aldi store in Skipton, where she was working on Thursday afternoon. She suffered serious injuries and died in the store. There were no relatives in court for the hearing this morning, and Mr. Horde, dressed in a blue T-shirt and grey shorts, spoke only to confirm his name, age and address. He didn't enter a plea and was remanded in custody. At the store where Wilshire worked, colleagues have described her as much loved and popular. And in a statement, her husband Malcolm said she was a doting mother and loving wife. Mr. Horde will next appear at Leeds Crown Court on December the 28th. Sarah Walton, BBC News, York.
More than 100 people are thought to have died after a tropical storm struck the southern Philippines. The country's second largest island, Mindanao, bore the brunt of the storm, which caused flash floods and landslides. Dozens of people are still missing after one village was completely buried. The US President Donald Trump has praised the UN Security Council for imposing tough new sanctions against North Korea in response to its recent missile tests. The Security Council voted unanimously to limit North Korea's imports of petrol and oil by as much as 90%. Mr. Trump said the vote proved the world wants peace, not death. London Zoo has been closed until further notice after a fire in the early hours of the morning. A number of staff were treated at the scene for smoke inhalation and shock as it was brought under control by 70 firefighters. The zoo is one of London's busiest attractions and was expecting tens of thousands of visitors over the Christmas holiday. Jane Francis Kelly reports.
Flames could be seen from surrounding areas shortly before dawn. A fire had broken out in the Animal Adventure Cafe before spreading to a shop. It also affected an animal petting section. Zookeepers who lived on site led animals to safety, some suffering smoke inhalation and shock. 10 fire engines and more than 70 firefighters arrived at the scene shortly after 6 a.m. The fire was brought under control about 3 hours later. A man walking his dog on Primrose Hill early in the morning said he alerted staff when he saw the flames.
I went over to the security and basically had a word with them and told them there's flames or there's smoke coming from inside there. Like, do you know anything about it?
The zoo had to be closed today, disappointing hundreds of visitors.
We've travelled down from Nottingham today.
Oh, that must be disappointing.
Yeah, it is a bit, but as long as the animals are okay.
In the last hour, the zoo has said Misha the aardvark has died in the fire and 4 meerkats are missing. London Zoo thanked the fire brigade for reacting so quickly, preventing the fire spreading and endangering its staff and many animals. Jane Francis Kelly, BBC News.
The Transport Secretary Chris Grayling says the government is consulting on a new system of road charging for heavy goods vehicles. They would pay per mile as a replacement for some existing taxis. There are no plans for a similar system for private cars. California's deadly wildfire has now become the largest in the state's recorded history. The blaze, which has been burning for more than 2 weeks now, has scorched an area greater than New York City, Brussels and Paris combined. More than 8,000 firefighters have been tackling the flames, among them thousands of prisoners, as our correspondent James Cook explains.
It's pretty challenging. Sometimes we're right there, right next to the fire.
Compared to being in prison and being here is completely different. Here you feel free, you're out in the world.
The biggest change for me is mental, because I've never pushed myself as hard ever in life.
California has 4,000 inmate firefighters, men and women. Whoa. Cutting fire breaks is risky work. 2 have died this year. But there are rewards too, in reduced sentences and a sense of purpose.
After being in this program, I feel like I've been rehabilitated, and I feel like I can go out there and achieve anything I want to because I've done this. This is so hard.
We were allowed inside this prison camp in Malibu. There are no walls or fences here. Violent or volatile prisoners are not allowed to join the program.
With a job like this, there's only time to think about the work.
Latoya Nahar is serving 4 years for causing the death of her 7-year-old son in a drunken car crash.
The attraction for me was because of my crime. I could come out here and do something positive. It's challenging mentally to get over something. I'm never going to get over it, but to try to ease my mind, and this has helped.
With California facing more frequent and more destructive fires, some critics call this slave labour. But the project is voluntary, it may reduce reoffending, and it provides some measure of redemption.
Everyone's like, we love you, firefighters, and we all, you know, like wave back, and we wave to the kids. It's amazing, yeah.
The work may be exhausting, it may be dangerous, but in the words of one prisoner, it's better than twiddling your thumbs in jail. James Cook, BBC News, in Southern California.
Dramatic pictures have been taken in the night sky over Phoenix in Arizona. The bright streak and flashing lights, which had the appearance of a UFO, were a film crew in a helicopter. But it turned out not to be something from outer space, rather a test launch of the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. It's thought it blasted off from a US Air Force base in California, some 800 kilometres away. Now, the chimes of Big Ben have rung out for the first time since November. The bell will go on sounding until 1 o'clock in the afternoon on New Year's Day. The extensive building work, which began in August, will then continue and is expected to last for 4 years. Now let's have a look at all the sporting prospects ahead of Christmas. Mike Bushell is at the BBC Sports Centre. Good afternoon, Mike.
Yes, thank you, Sean. Good afternoon. Well, 3 of their players, including Wayne Rooney, have the flu, and so it's a weakened Everton team hosting Chelsea this lunchtime. The visitors are hoping to move level on points with Man.
The next news on BBC One is at 6 o'clock. Bye for now.